Oh, everybody. Hi, Dr. Neek. How's everybody doing today? We feeling good? We doing good? I hope so. um, let's see. Nancy B in Tennessee. How are we? Golimon, how's it going? Good to see you. Lee, what's going on? Also, good to see you. And Harry Stray Cat. Hello. I have a hairy stray cat of my own that's outside that she has been such a sweetheart this week. It's been 2 years that I've been feeding her now, like since we moved here, just a little after. And with the winter, she was very, very timid. And you can see here, she's actually like going at my feet and doing the whole figure eight weaving in between my legs now and nudging against me for loves. And so I was pretty happy about that she's feeling safe enough to do that. I don't know. You can't pet your fish always. I have a few fish that I pet, like my rasbora, or my rasbora, my raspberry colored betta. But this cat is like Fluff Master Supreme. I mean, she is crazy fluffy. She looks like she's got a lion's mane as her entire body. And her name is Silky. But that's the project cat that I've been trying to tame for a long time now. But Lee, I'm glad you're still awake. Welcome. Jamie A, hello. Scotty, hello. Coro, what's up? Skydancer, Linda Worth, John Monroe, hello, my friend. Coro, how's it going? I have a lot of cats. There's more cat members. Aquatic Moose, what's up? Are you Moose? Just Aquatic Moose now? Because, that would be fun. Rye Guy Outdoors, what's going on? I feel like everything is crooked in my wardrobe right now. Like this should be straight, but I feel like I'm only going to straighten it by doing this and then taking it all down again. Yeah, whatever. 186 Element, Fish Are Friends. What's going on? ABC Biotopes. Hey, how's it going? Bird Wellington. Hello. You need some motivations. Water change motivation. That would be great, wouldn't it? You have a motor to get you going. All right, let's see. Craig, what's going on? Average Fish Keeper, what's going on? Dennis, hello. We got lots of folks in here that aren't always in here. Giuseppe 9214, welcome. And Diam Dante, hello, welcome. Let's see here. Who else has wandered in? 3G, Jose Torres, Mario Velasquez. Hello. Oh, what a kind word you have there. Who likes Lamias? I like Lamias. Lamia, think about it. No. And Sigui, Habana, hello. It's good to see everybody in here. I hope everybody's doing well. I'm gonna start my day off with my hard drink of choice. And hello from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, eh? Well, I wish I was visiting down there. I love exploring the waters there. I still have a couple videos from my trip to Florida collecting. One is with the professor and Gilligan, or actually that's Grant EDER and Anthony Masserall. But we were collecting. What does that make me? Skipper? No, we already have a skipper in the fish community. Maybe I'm Marianne. I don't know. Yeah, Dr. Pepper. What's the worst that can happen? Oh, I've had many debaucherous nights on Dr. Pepper, sir. Oh yeah, that can being cracked open makes you feel a certain way. Yeah, I mean it's actually like almost freezing temperatures at night here. So these get nice and icy out in the carport this time of year, and then bringing them in, they are awesome. Oh, hey everybody, Nancy has worms. Just wanted to let everybody know. So stay away from her. No, she got banana worms right on for rainbow shiner fry. Oh, I'll have to buy some rainbow shiners from you if you're raising them. I want to have at least one all native indoor tank. It'd be kind of fun to turn one of the 40s I have into like kind of a hill stream, like a Tennessee or Alabama hill stream. I'd really like that. Um, Alex, have you ever gotten any your pygmy sunfish to eat anything but besides live food? Yeah, they'll eat frozen bloodworms usually, and they'll also eat frozen baby brine shrimp that are decapsulated, which are an expensive food. Like it's way cheaper just to hatch brine shrimp. But they like brine shrimp a lot. They'll eat black worms. And then it depends on the fish and how desperate they are. You know, I find that I do better literally just feeding things to scuds and then feeding the scuds to those little small wild fish species that I keep. Luke, what's going on? Good to see you, my Sacramento buddy. Sketty Nonia, what's going on? Let's see here. All right, guys. I saw another one. Oh, you still have rainbow shiners from your last spawning, huh? Right on, ABC. I'm sure they're on your channel, right? Kelly Carroll, hello. Dennis, yeah, okay, you were the one who was asking about that. Oh, Alan Bauer, that's who I saw pop in. Good to see you, buddy. I haven't seen you. Luke's here, Alan's here. It's like the old gang's back together. Building out, what did you say? Building out a rack for new plant farm setup. Right on, right on. Rocky and Miles, happy Mardi Gras. Well, you too, right on. So I am scheduled to be going to Mexico in less than 2 weeks now. It's pretty exciting. Puerto Vallarta is where we'll fly into, and then we're going to a town north of there, maybe like an hour and a half, called Sayulita. And there's supposed to be like tegus, iguanas, kikajus, like all sorts of crazy animals there as far as what's going on. So there'll probably be some interesting videos. The saltwater fish there are incredible, but the rivers are really depleted. Like it's kind of wild. I was trying to find, what species are in the native rivers of central Mexico, but they're all so turbid. They all are coming down from the mountains so steeply. I was reading about it, and there are no naturally navigable rivers in all of Mexico. Like Mexico has a narrow band from about Michoacan to I guess there's Guadalajara, Mexico City, Veracruz on the other coast, but there's a thin band that's high enough, it's elevated that it's not as hot as the desert, and yet it's far enough south that it's like tropical if it were at sea level, but it's up at 5 to 8,000 feet. And like Mexico City itself I didn't realize it. It's up at like, I don't know, 7,000 feet or something like that. Something like, 3.5 kilometers high in elevation. Pretty wild. Tina Orr, welcome. Jay Bloomquist, welcome as well. Guts Hanayama, get wrecked. Hey, what should I feed my Fahaka puffer? 3 inches besides clams on the half shell. I think I spoiled her. Shrimp is good. They definitely do like to have something to work their beak on, so that you don't have to file it down. They just naturally do that. Also, you can do bloodworms, you can do any sort of real worms, as far as earthworms too, or grubs, or mealworms. Sometimes they'll eat. It kind of just depends on the fish and what it's trained on, what it likes. They're very inquisitive. So even sometimes if you make it something like rapashi or whatever on some sort of little, like if you were to take clamshells and put rapashi on it for herbivores of some sort, or for like bottom scratchers, a lot of times they'll munch on that, just trying it out and seeing what it is. That's one of my favorite tricks about rapashi, is to make it really thick as like a gel and put it on sticks and stuff, and then watch like loaches and things eat it. It's a good way to do it. Um, let's see here. Trust and Obey, welcome. Ray Cooper, Michelle, always good to see y'all. All right. So, hey, Jack Betts, welcome, new member. Boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats and boots and cats. We had to decide the last time that there was a something for people when they decide to become a member, but it is so much appreciated. I want to share it with you guys out of transparency. I've been editing my videos a lot more, and I think it's pulling in some new folks that normally would pass over the channel, and they're actually staying to listen to the nerdy stuff, which makes me so happy. And that's the goal. I haven't been annotating my videos where I put the actual where I'm using which source, like a number in the corner and then a bibliography. But I do save bibliographies for all my videos now, in basically hopes that somebody will want it or something, some members. But I realize when I post it, there's very little interaction with those. So it's kind of like, I don't know if I should even post them all. But for a while, that's what I was doing as kind of an incentive. But I don't know that it's an incentive that's that helpful, because anybody who's so nerdy as to want those, unless it's a really cool source, you guys probably know how to find them, sort of thing. But maybe I'm wrong. Let me know. Also, the community tab just seems really underutilized as far as like people visiting there. But there's a lot of good stuff linked through there that's not on the public channel. Like, you need the link to watch it. So there's 175 extra episodes for channel members for only $1.99, and they're like anywhere from 5 minutes to 15-minute extra episodes, usually in the under the title of Fishery episodes. And I need to get back on that, but it's just the morning show has not been going every day or every morning, and so I've just kind of fallen off doing that, in that I've had a couple really big deep dive videos that I've really researched a whole lot about. And I mean, I could be doing 30 videos on bettas or on tannins right now with the research lately, but I think that would burn everyone out. So I'm kind of trying to like have video scripts and topics set aside so that I'll come back and visit that in maybe 3 or 4 months and release another video, rather than just doing like 10 tannin related videos all back to back to back. Allyn, thank you so much, buddy, for the $15. I really appreciate that. It really does help. I'm trying right now. I'm trying to save up to buy. I want to get a better mic. I've bought several mics and stuff, but apparently what I need is some software and a mixer controller. And then I need to just like bite the bullet and get like one of those Rode mics, especially for the fishery episodes. They sound okay when I'm listening on my phone or headphones, like cheaper headphones or earbuds kind of thing. But whenever I actually listen on like a TV or the sound system we have like on the TV, I'm like, oh, I hear all that crackly back noise and stuff. And I don't want that when audio is the format. Like it just seems, like I need to fix that. So that's one thing. And Fia, thank you so much and welcome. You liked my Betta Splendid domestication video. Well, thank you. So the next video in that series is going to be about bettas and how they came to the Western world. So that's where it'll start off, is when King Rama III passes on the first ornamental bettas to a professor by the name of Cantor. And he is from the Netherlands, or actually, no, he's from Denmark. And he takes them back to the Netherlands, and then to France. And then from France, they go to Russia. And then from there, people bring another round of them in through Portugal. And then the Russian ones were successfully being bred, as were some in Germany and the Netherlands. And pretty soon, all of Europe basically has them by like the turn of the 20th century. And America was kind of behind. They didn't get the betta until 1910, and that was only in San Francisco, which is kind of surprising. But in any case, we'll go over all that kind of stuff in the video. There's a guy by the name of Frank Locke who really brought in all the first bettas, and he even in the 20s, again later in 1928, he brought in like 500 and some more bettas, and he got some Cambodian and Myanmar or Burmese at the time they were called bettas that had like veil tails and double fins. Now the double fin is officially not recognized until the 1980s or 90s as a morph. But what I'm trying to do is go back and document which fin morphs occurred, or any like common, like a half moon, for instance, trying to go back and document when exactly that occurred, when that became a fish in the hobby. And the problem is that we know that in pictures, I can find a picture from 1930, even though they're not mentioned until like 1940. I can find a fish in 1930 club manuals that's clearly like a veil tail or something. And so then it's easy to say, all right, well, 1930, at least Germany had veil tails. But I'm sure I'm missing them. I don't have every club manual meeting ever, nor do I have the time or resources to look through them all. But I do find it fascinating. So if anybody does see any 1900, or well, actually anything 1925 or so or earlier from the Western world or from Asia about bettas, like fish clubs, like Hong Kong Fish Club. I know there are a lot of Germans living in China doing like trade, and a lot of them kept fish. Same with French and Americans also. So that's pretty interesting stuff. Now, I also wanted to shout out something that I had that I've been watching lately, or reading. Gosh, my brain is stuck on multimedia, but it's this book, The Aquarius Journey. And this is a book about Rosario Lacorte. And I mean, the fish in here, there's so many that you've never seen. A lot are just strange fish, native to whatever, Patagonia, and they're just the little silver ones that are not in the hobby at all. A lot of them are killifish that only live for, say, a few weeks as adults. Like once, they're growing for 2 months, and then they're adults for like a month, and then they're done. But he's also got the history of like early sea monkey stuff, and they had the American Killifish Association, which is very active and old. They actually had a company called Quickie Fish, which is kind of interesting. And then Whammo, who owns like Frisbee and Hula Hoop and all these other brands, later Sea Monkeys, they came up with instant fish. and they had killifish eggs and peat moss, and instant fish up here actually had like a little bowl with a magnifying glass and some plastic plants and stuff, whereas the kit from the American Killifish Association was essentially eggs in a little box. But anyways, it's a pretty interesting book, and there's some of these cool fish illustrations from like the 20s and 30s, and it goes all the way back. And I mean, it talks about Rosario Lacorte, who's now in his late 90s. It goes and talks about his collecting of like black-nosed dace and long-nosed dace. And it even shows him in, like, for instance, 1922, his dad's shop, and then it shows him as a kid in 1931 as a kid. So this book, I mean, boy, does it go back. And he was active and obsessed with fish from that age on, to the point where he had multiple aquariums as a kid, as a teenager. I mean, this guy's just obsessed. There's pictures of him in the 50s looking like, I mean, he's like 40 some years old or whatever by then, and just looking like a boss, you know, looking like Sean Connery or something. Also, I mean, just about his life and his adventures, but it's all through the lens of some of these incredible fish that he documented. He documented over 1,000 fish for the first time. You know, there's 32,000 species. 1/32nd. Well, it's actually probably way less than that. It's probably like 1/50th of the fish that are out there. Some probably still don't have names. Many probably went extinct without ever getting categorized, but were found and documented, or at least photographed for the first time by this guy. So it's a pretty cool book. Pretty interesting, very dense on information. So I recommend it if anybody is looking for a book to read. It's got a lot of info, and I mean, I could do a whole lot of videos based off of just that. Passing Wind, what's going on? Charles Vaughn, Aquasora, Dsora T, what's up? How are you? Who else is in here that just snuck in? Wolftoe. All right, we got a question. New tank cycling syndrome. Nitrate level at caution stress levels, and nitrate at about 20 parts per million. Heater less than 68 to 70. Do I need to just wait for more beneficial bacteria to grow? Is there a reason why you're not heating the tank fully? Because if you heat it a little bit hotter, the bacteria is going to grow a bit faster. But, you know, what I would do is I'd get some plants in there if there aren't. If you've got nitrites coming up, you're at the last phase of cycling. Like, that means you're almost home free, because what'll happen is, you know, first you've got the ammonia, then that has to go away. Then you'll sometimes see a little bit of ammonia and a little bit of nitrates. Then you'll see a moderate amount of nitrates, a little bit of nitrites. And once your nitrites start going up and your nitrates are up high and your nitrites are going up, they should hit a peak not that high. Like, they should hit a peak of like maybe 30 parts per million, and then all of a sudden they'll start to go down again, probably within a week, because that means your nitrate. So when you're cycling a tank, you have nitrosoma and you have nitrobacillus and nitrobacter types of bacteria. So one is going to take your ammonia, break that down into from a gas form into a nitrogen compound known as nitrite. And then the nitrite is somewhat harmful to fish, and it's kind of somewhat metabolized by plants, although ammonia in low doses is actually the best thing to give plants. But because we keep fish, we settle on giving them basically the second or third best nitrogenous source of energy, which is nitrates. And that's what we have kind of decided as a hobby. With the oxygenated system, you're managing nitrates, and that is your end result. So once your nitrates are starting to increase and your nitrites finally drop off again, that's when you'll be done. So you should have that finishing up pretty soon, because really you shouldn't have nitrites in your tank at all if it's a cycled tank. Trust Obey, got to go do a deep dive on Rosario LaCour. Yeah, he knows everybody. It's crazy. He's got pictures in there with like Herbert Axelrod, with William T. Innes, with Schultzi, with Harold Schultzi, with I mean, just all these people that have, you know, a billion fish named after them. All these different, you know, Jacques Cousteau, all these people, fresh and saltwater. It's pretty crazy. Caprese Park, what's going on? Jeff Kane, what's going on? It's good to see everybody in here. Wolf Toe, also, that's an interesting name, Wolf Toe. No fish, only plants. Okay, yeah, you know what's happening is the plants are going to be eating up that ammonia real quick when it's in the water column in low parts per million, which is great. When you're cycling a tank, it's actually a good opportunity. It gives plants a bit of a jump, especially if you have CO2. But even without CO2, they get a bit of a jump. But plants at the root level, they actually like ammonia, but only up to like maybe 10 or 20 parts per million. Beyond that, it actually becomes caustic and starts burning them. But in the wild, in theory, plants are drawing from soil that is no longer oxygenated, right on the edge of oxygenated and not oxygenated. And there's anoxic bacteria that live, as well as archaea, fungi, and other things that live right at that interchange. Anywhere in nature where you guys see, you know, whether it's between a meadow and a forest, or between marshlands and a lake, or saltwater and freshwater, wherever these changes, for some reason, that is always where the most species diversity and most life and dynamic situations arise. And the same is true with our tanks, you know, when we're trying to encourage things. And with the substrate, if you can get low oxygen and oxygenated soil near each other, you start getting a lot of interactions that, you know, some people claim, like there's Mr. Novak claims to have a system and understand it all. And honestly, we don't understand it all at a small level or at a contained aquarium level, but we have a pretty good idea on a broader level and on a generalized level what's going on. And there's just some things that we can't account for or fully know, like how much you need of it for it to happen, or how old the soil and the inputs in the system are. There's just so many variables that it's hard to claim unless we tell everybody to set up a tank with 1 cup of this type of potting soil and 1 cup of gravel and 1 cup of sand and you know, these few additives to the soil or root tabs that are this brand. It's really hard to say, you know, across the board what's what. But we do know that at that border, and it'll occur on tanks a lot of times. I was told this by the head R&D chemist of CChem at the AGA, that basically where you see the orange line in your substrate, a lot of times you'll see like a rust line. That is the end point of oxygenated water or oxygenated substrate. So wherever you see that, it forms an oxygenation line. And if you go about half an inch below that, all of a sudden there's not enough oxygen free that it's bonding with at least iron. And there may be enough oxygen bound up and in other things that bacteria and other little microorganisms and stuff can get at it, or roots can get at it, but there's not free oxygen in a gaseous state or in an O2 state in between the cracks and crevices. let's see here. I have lots of cats. What are you saying? Slum the noticing. Please forgive. It'd be cool if you'd notebooks and stuff you'd mention in videos. Notebooks. Uh, I'm a little. Are you talking about notes on what I'm doing? Sorry, I'm a bit confused. Uh, let's see here. First class fish. Alex is on it for you. Oh, okay. All right. Um, all right. Alishon, what's going on? Jeff Kane, Morwina, Gary Stein. What's up? Chia Pet, hello. What about liquid star stuff? Toss some in with floaters. I don't know liquid star stuff. Ray Aquatics, hello. Um, yeah, Lee, you can hear someone saying cap the substrate with sand and have a variety of plants. Yeah, Father Fish definitely says that. You know, where he and I vary is I don't like deep sand substrate. I like diversity. I like to make a lasagna of different nutrient levels, because like I said, where you get those varying environments, even microbiomes, that's where we get the spice of life, the diversity of things. It's where those layers are meeting and are most dynamic. Yes, Alishon is saying Rosario and Al Klee. Yeah, Al Klee is like my hero. He is the only one in this hobby doing anything similar to what I am kind of working on, which is in theory one day having a book put together about the history of the hobby. Now, his book started as a little pamphlet that he'd hand out, and I have seen iterations of it. But his actual finished product, Toy Fish from 2004-ish, maybe, is a great book. It's like 150 pages or so, but it's a specific time period, and it goes into very high detail about the stuff that he knew or could gather, but it feels kind of like a pre-internet book in that there's big gaps in certain things. It's very East Coast, Midwest fish club culture, which is what he had experience with, and that's invaluable. The fact that you've got someone making a book talking about the 1940s, 50s, 60s, and he was there helping lead the hobby and the sciences. So Toy Fish, that's probably the best aquarium book in the hobby for history and just kind of talking about what fish were in the country when, and what technology was available to the public and what was popular, that kind of stuff. Um, Good source for fish books. There's some Facebook groups that are really good, Jay. If you're looking for old books, there's a group that specifically trades in antique books or books over, I think it's 40 years old is kind of our cutoff. But there's a lot of options out there. I mean, really, the best place to go is club meetings and swaps and events. Things like the Keystone Clash or the Aquashella or Aquafest or Aqua Zoo, any place where you've got vendor booths that are not just trade show people, you're going to have somebody selling books. And that's usually where you can kind of bargain or wheel and deal, maybe bring in some of your old material if you have any and offer to trade. But the problem is with older books, they get out of date, and there's a lot of great info, sometimes not in the fact that an old book is accurate, but in that it's not. And then we can find where the wives tales or the misinformation originated. So like in the betta video I did, the first installment of the history of domesticating bettas, I found so many books like at the library and stuff that were talking about like early fish keeping books from the 30s and 40s, talking about the betta, and they're just completely wrong. The Latin names and stuff are wrong. And it's not until later that some of that gets corrected. But then again, genetics testing gets done, and in 2022 we really have the final answers to some of the questions, like where did this fish come from, for instance, there's a line of fish that only occurs wild in Borneo, and it's found in northern Thailand and Sri Lanka in the domesticated bettas. So that tells us, like, okay, somebody was trading fish and breeding fish with different species from the same genus, and so they're actually amalgams or hybrids. But let's see here. Aquatic moose. Have you heard Novak say Pothos only takes nitrates from substrate, not water column? How does it grow when it's not planted? I have not heard him say that. I don't know for a fact that, but if it's not, if it is doing that, it is different than almost every other plant. What he probably is saying or knows and is just generalizing is that maybe it most effectively takes up ammonia from the water columns, and the nitrates and nitrites it only takes up in limited numbers from the water column. It wants to use its roots. But the thing is, Pothos a lot of times will reach out with roots in water, and then it's able to absorb the nitrates and nitrites with its roots. Now, if you just take a fresh cutting and stick it in there, no, it's not going to suck it up through capillary action. There's no organelles or anything in the cell tissue of that stem plant itself to be metabolizing the nitrogen. But there is in the root system, and then it can exchange ions. It can exchange things like potassium or zinc or manganese, magnesium, all that stuff. But it does need to grow a root system. But it's kind of like I just recently had somebody on my case mentioning that I had said in a video that if you take a cup of tank water from an existing tank and throw it in a new tank, that will help jumpstart your tank. And somebody said the bacteria doesn't grow in the water, it only grows on surfaces in your tank. And that's true that 98.97 or whatever the number is percent is on your hardscape. So throwing a piece of hardscape in a new tank is a way more effective way. But that being said, there are billions of cells in your aquarium that are bacteria that are beneficial if you have a well-cycled aquarium of 20, 30, 40 gallons. And if you take a scoop of water, having some rather than none in the water, those will then find places to go. And even if it's way less, they double every 12 hours, every 12 to 18 hours. The nitrosoma, nitrobacillus, I believe it's every 6 to 12 hours. So that's their doubling time. As far as, you know, you start with 2, then you get 4, then 8, then 16, then 32, then 64. I mean, quickly, then 128. You can see how quickly that number jumps to 256, 512, whatever it is. You know, so if you have none in the water versus have, and maybe the number then 2% of, say, 5 million or something, or 1% of 5 million even, that's enough to jumpstart a lot of bacteria. So while yes, it is better to jumpstart it with hardscape, there's things that people say as generalizations, and they may not really fully realize the implications of, yeah, it's negligible, but if you're starting on fresh slate or a clear gel of agar, you know, to culture something, when you have no bacteria versus you give a little bit, it's going to diffuse, and what's there is going to dominate, you know, faster than what needs to float in from the room and settle down. Because the nitrobacillus, nitrosomas, nitrobacters, all those, they float in the air. They're on your jacket. They're on your skin. They're in the tap water. Depending on how well your tap water is treated and filtered. But yeah, All right, let me get down to where we are live. Let's do it live. Uh, Father Fish did not work for me. Tried it, ran it 2 years, 2 year tanks. Well, the other thing is he grows very specific plants, and I like to grow stem plants. I like to grow carpeting plants. I like to grow all sorts of different plants. He's really into like swords, basically anything that Aquarium Co-op sells on their web. Let's pop that up real quick because it's worth showing. There are kind of these bulletproof plants, and I'm not saying that all these will work for all of you guys, but Corey is a smart guy, and he has figured out like the toughest plants you can sell, and he keeps the same plants because they work. So here, let's pop up real quick and share. Let me share this screen. But if you buy any of these plants, the reason he has listed these is because he has the knowledge that these are going to be plants that if you have hard water, if you have soft water, they will grow. Throw in a little bit of easy green or any root tabs or any fertilizer, maybe even just fish poop, and they're probably going to survive. But things like anubias, things like java fern, pearlweed is the biggest weed there. I mean, some of these things are like borderline considered invasive. Dwarf sage, it's another one that'll grow right in sand. Micro sword, that's a little more fragile. Monte Carlo, a little more fragile. But dwarf hairgrass, can you grow it in sand? You can, especially if it's an old tank with lots of fish waste in it. The banana plant, I mean, it's a tuber. It's able to grow from itself. Money war or bacopa, I mean, that's easy. It's going to grow no matter where you put it, basically sand, lava rock, whatever. Boos is going to grow in the water column. So, I mean, as long as you have medium light and fish pooping in your tank, you're going to get away with most of these plants at least existing for you. Now, there's a few that he sells that I think are hard. And that would be, for instance, baby tears. This one you're probably going to want CO2 or extremely high light. You're going to want one or the other. And then if he has cryptocorini pink flamingo, which sometimes they have, that's another one that is pretty tricky as far as that goes. But you see, they carry like 32 types of plants, and it's always these plants. There's no back stock. There's 3 that are not in stock right now. One's a tiger lotus, which is another. Pretty much, you could grow that on sand. You could grow it on a glass bottom tank. Some of these plants you could grow on a glass bottom tank or on a stick. There's very few actually that you couldn't do that with. Pogo stem and Stellatus octopus, that and Scarlet Temple, Val, those need something to be a matrix to grow through. But beyond that, they don't need much. It's really easy, super easy. Let's see here. Come out to our Findig in June. There may very well be some books. Yeah, if you're in the Sacramento area, go check out the Sacramento Club. Carla, it's good to see you. I see you in here. Welcome. Let's see here. Jack Betts, also, I know our newest member. Really appreciate that. Corey Miller, hello. All right, guys. Alex, do I eat fish? Yes, I eat fish. I go fishing. Hey, Kenny, what's going on, my man? Good to see you. Discordia, hello. All right, guys. I'm going to pop down to the bottom. And if you guys have a question now, you can just do at Fishery rather than at the Secret History. I know that whole long name thing was a pain in the butt. So yeah, now you just do at Fishery, and you'll get me. I'll be able to. It'll pull it out aside for me to answer. Karen, the good twin. Hello. So another thing that I was gonna mention is I want to set up. Um, I'm gonna need some technical help, guys. I want to set up cameras on my tanks so that from sitting here in the kitchen, I can. Hey, Asya. Llewellyn, good to see you. You see how the at fishery works. Um, the thing I want to do is set up some small, like the maybe even just like the kind of a lens and camera that would be in a camera, and like solder them to a Raspberry Pi or something like that, or maybe connect them all Wi-Fi and that have something really like a little chipboard of some sort, or even hook it up to something like a little portable hard drive and processor mount. But basically, I want to put it together so that I can sit here and I can click on, and at least in like 1080p, we can see a tank, so that we could skip to a few tanks without me having to walk over there, and have them so they're not shaking and stuff. But then I can like zoom in, we can talk about stuff, we can look at things, I can point out like soil stratification if that's what we're talking about, or trimming or whatever. Obviously we'll still walk around and take a look in the tanks. That tends to be on Friday streams when we do that. Lake Dog, hello, welcome. I don't recognize the name, but I'm glad you're here. Jimmy Ellison, also great to see you here. I feel like we've got some crowd that I don't normally see, and that is great. Also, I must say that Upper Aquatics, hello, hope you're doing well. That I cannot tell on here when somebody donates memberships, and I know that people do that from time to time. So I want to say, one, sorry if anybody did that, but two, if you guys are in here in the future or whatever, and anybody drops donated memberships, if you could just say, hey, at Fishery, somebody donated, and let me know who it was, memberships, I would really appreciate that, because one, it's so kind when people do that, but two, I don't know why they don't build it into the software. I can't figure out when it happens. I'll randomly see one person becomes a member, another becomes a member, whatever. So there's that going on. Hey, Jay Oliver, what's going on, buddy? Hope you're doing well. Also, somebody had a question for me that I missed. Just dropping in Upper Aquatics. Lee. Alex, I had a massive bloom of green hair algae. All I could do was remove all the affected plants, perform massive water changes over a week, buy new plants. What else could I have done? Well, you could have done a blackout, I suppose. It kind of depends on the green hair algae. If it's the green hair algae that kind of looks like what's on moss balls, like the little fuzzy stuff that it looks like, like a like bristles on a brush, rather than the goop that's stringy and you can like kind of twirl into a slimy glop, versus the kind that is forked. If you look at it carefully, it actually has branches to it. Those are all three different, very, very different types of green algae. But the filamentous algae is probably the easiest to deal with. The slimy stuff on top that you can twirl like spaghetti on a fork and literally just pull it out. That stuff's really easy to deal with. I usually just have a couple fish that I just won't feed the fish for 3 or 4 days. And any of my live bears, my angelfish, even like cories and loaches, plecos, they'll go up there, they'll nibble on some of it. My shrimp, they'll nibble on some of it, stuff like that. And it takes care of it. Now, the main thing is going to be if you've got nitrates, nitrites, somewhat in there, then if you have light and those, and you're not injecting CO2, then your green algae are going to grow. They're going to grow. They're going to grow because they have all the things they want, and the plants have all the things they want minus the carbon rate, because algae can sequester carbon from the air. So if you think about it, when you aerate your tank with bubbles, the aeration doesn't come from the bubbles themselves in the water. They're arising, there's surface tension around each bubble, and they're contained. So you're not getting air put into your water dispersedly with just an air stone on its own. What happens is at the top, when that bubble reaches the top, all of a sudden the bubble collapses on itself or opens on itself and folds in, and you get like a little water droplet look. And then what happens is that void that was there becomes a vacuum of sorts, or less pressure anyways, and it collapses in on itself. Now, in intense cases, like in a reactor, you can actually get what we call cavitation, where the energy of that void snapping back close can produce a spark of light. That's how energetic that collapse can be. But it's not that violent when bubbles are just coming to the surface. But when it does that, it breaks the molecules into a million little pieces, literally like 500,000 or 1,000,000 pieces per little bubble. And so the more explosions at the surface of bubbles, the more diffused it is, and it diffuses from the top and then kind of settles down. But with carbon actually gets in for our algae. The ambient carbon in the room, just from us exhaling and breathing, is enough for algae in a lot of cases, whereas plants, they need more. And a lot of people buy liquid carbon thinking that that's going to give it to them, but that is not actually a form of elemental carbon that is usable by the plants. It's actually something that turns into what we call glutaraldehyde. It turns into a carbon-based not pesticide, but herbicide that kills plant tissue that to a certain degree. Now, some of it gets incorporated and fuses with other materials, and in the long run, it will settle in as carbon. But really, what liquid carbon is doing is acting as an algicide, the way it hurts the cell growth. Because the algae only needs a little bit of that carbon, whereas your plants need gaseous CO2. They'll rip off the oxygen, and during photosynthesis, they create sugars with the carbon, and the O2 part breaks off, and that's why plants breathe out air, is they're making little hydrogen and CH. It's kind of the root. The carbon and the hydrogen are the biggest constituents of the sugars and starches, and that's where they're ripping them from. But the other thing, just for the sake, hey, Aquatic Morning Show, great to see you as well, Jess. Always good to see you. Fish Tropic Canada, good to see you. Chris Howell, always good to see you. Lots of great people in here tonight. I love seeing it. Kenny is lurking while he's driving home. I've been driving all night, my hands wet on the wheel. There's a voice in my head and it drives my heel. Joe MTL, what's up? I modified my Marina HOB filter to use AquaClear sponges. I have a planted aquarium. How often should I rinse sponges? Now, there's the hot topic. So let me finish up with Lee really quick. And in just saying that, Lee, I have a couple videos on talking about, I have zero nitrates. How do I still have algae? And that goes into diatom algae. It goes into what's going on in those situations. And then there's another video I have called, can too low of light cause algae? And the answer is yes there as well. But it's all has to do with the competition between the algae and plants. and which one is going to run into its limiting factor first. And if you do a blackout, literally, like the other really important thing that a lot of people don't understand, and I didn't understand until recently, talking to a botanist, was that algae can actually use the ambient light from like a lamp in a bedroom across the room. So if you have any windows in that room with your aquarium, even on a cloudy day, that's enough light for some algae to grow in certain situations. Now, the algae that is growing in that kind of light, uh, you'll get diatom first. You need to have silicate crystals in there to get diatomaceous algae or iron as its base kind of building blocks of life other than carbon. But back to the point, which is any light is enough to grow the algae. So if you have a night light on in the room, even, well, probably not a night light, but if you have over, say, a 30-watt incandescent bulb or 10-watt LED bulb of any sort of from 4K to 8K spectrum of light, you're going to get algae growing during that to some degree, and usually nearer to the light. And the plants, on the other hand, they need a certain amount of par or lumens. They need a certain intensity for them to say, it's daytime, let's start doing the photosynthesis thing. But otherwise, they're using their sugar reserves. They're going to be belching out CO2 at night. So they're actually putting CO2 in the water that the algae then gets to eat when it's dark. And so what you need to do is wait, because plants give out oxygen in the day from photosynthesis and CO2 at night. That's why we turn our CO2 off at night, so we don't gas our own fish in our tanks. But if you put a towel, or even better yet, a quilt, something really thick over your entire aquarium on the hours that the light is not on, you will have a complete blackout. And after about 72 hours, your lights have already gone through, or your plants have gone through one cycle of belching out the CO2 that they usually release at night. And your algae, after that point, they'll eat that up in, say, 12 hours or whatever. But after that, they start starving, and they need it because they're small bodied. Algae is not some big, long system like a plant. A plant has starch and carbohydrates and proteins and things, depending on the plant, that it stores, and it can send resources. And so your plants will always outlast your algae in a blackout situation. Sometimes they can survive a week, sometimes it's 5 weeks. But I mean, whatever it may be, a 3 to 5 day blackout is not a bad idea, or not even a blackout, but you turn your light on very intensely so that your plants are getting the most of it, because your algae is going to grow, whether it's let's make up an intensity just so we don't have to use real numbers. But say your light's on a 5. Well, at 5, your algae is growing as fast as it's going to grow. If you put that to 10, your algae is not going to grow much faster, maybe if faster at all. But your plants, on the other hand, they have specialized cells, and they'll actually put more chloroplasts and more chlorophyll into their cells, and they'll actually get a lusher green. They'll start reallocating resources, and they will actually tilt their leaves and things to suck up that light. So the difference between a 5 and a 10 on the light, your plants are going to eat double the food. Your algae is going to be the same. And if your plants are eating the food, they're taking it away from the algae. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I think, like you said, Lee, the blackout approach should work. But also, you can just do like a 4 to 6 hour light thing, but turn your light on max and let your plants get the light, and then put a quilt over it and turn off the lights. And that in itself makes it so that you don't give your algae, for instance, with my house the way it is, the lights are on somewhere in the room usually for probably 8 or 9 hours if you count in the morning before the sun's up, and then for the time at night. And then on top of that, for 15 hours or 10 hours, however long the day is, time of year. Seattle has short days this time of year, though. It's dark, and the we use lights or the daylights there, even on a cloudy day, and it can grow the algae. So algae gets to grow for 20 hours a day or whatever it may be for 16 hours a day, and my plants only get to grow for 6. But if you do a true blackout, then both of them get 6 hours, and your plants are going to do a lot more with that. Chris J, where can I find pygmy sunfish? Oh, wow. I also miss Bird Wellington amalgamation. Thank you so much for the $5 super chat. I really, really appreciate it. Like I said, I'm trying to make some investments in the channel. Had a lot of stuff go wrong with the freaking sewer in the house going all over our hardwood floor. And then we had to get that trench dug out. And then we had to replace the sewer pipes under the house, like 18 feet of them. And then also I got to go get my teeth done, which is $15K down in Florida. There's just all these bills. Like, we've kind of planned some, but we just had $6,000 more fall in our lap. And it's just like, you guys know how it goes. You guys all have a life. You know how the world works. But I do appreciate those of you supporting the channel. It really does mean a lot. And I appreciate those of you just watching too, because that does a lot. You guys watch ads, you guys share, like, you bring people here by being here and engaging. And so, I don't want anybody to feel bad, but I appreciate all of you. How about Staghorn algae? I've been fighting it, heavily planted breeder, just doing manual removal and water changes. Any tips? Yeah, again, I would say check out my video on low light, can it be too dim for algae, or my lighting be too low can low light cause algae? I think that's the name of the video. That's a good one. Also, steps to removing hair algae. Anything that's come out in my videos in the last 3 years that says the word algae in it, if you do a search on the channel, will have a different piece of information for you, as I've tried to explain it a bunch of different times. And there's one video where I have a whiteboard and I go through explaining the law of I'm forgetting the actual name of the natural law now, but it's basically saying that there's a limiting factor. There's a restriction by whatever element is missing. You're never going to get the other. You can pump as much of the other elements into the tank as you want. And if it's missing one of the key 5 things or so, it can't grow anymore. But I would say, with staghorn algae, Siamese algae eaters are very helpful. Flagfish are jerks, as someone just said, but they are super helpful. Get the Siamese algae eater with the diamond on the tail and no line down the body. They're the best. They'll eat double to triple the weight in algae every day. A mono shrimp are another good one. But really, you need something with a mouth that can grip and rip off with staghorn. So shrimp aren't the best for staghorn algae. I mean, they'll help prevent it in the first place by eating the really new growth, but they're kind of bad. They'll more comb through and try to find debris in the algae. So that's where, like, Siamese algae eaters, even plecos, even guppies and things like that, if you don't feed them their normal food that they love, they're going to want bloodworms. If you feed them bloodworms, they're going to want those every day. If you don't give them bloodworms, eventually they'll eat flake food. If they're spoiled, you can spoil them to different levels. And what people forget is that a lot of those fish, they have to forage in the wild. They'll eat a bug here, a bug there, but that's not nearly enough energy. So then they're going to eat the algae. They're going to eat the biofilms. They're going to eat scuds and other things, planaria, even though planaria must taste terrible, because I watch most fish eat a planaria and they spit it out. Most fish won't pull an adult planaria off the glass and eat it. You have to put it into a pipette, squirt it in, and have it drifting down right in front of their face for most fish to strike a planaria. But if you wait and it's late at night and you shine a light and you calmly sit back and look, you'll see that they're eating the teeny tiny little babies when they're bored, essentially. Kenny, thank you so very much for the donation, the fund. 20 big ones. Wow, buddy, I appreciate that. You know I'll pay it back to you, buddy. Let's see here. Yeah, there was some crazy algae going on in Kenny's wife Danny over at their place. She FaceTimed me or whatever video chatted me today, and she put Seachem safe into a tank that had I believe it was from the fertilizer that she had used, but she had put in some plant fertilizer that had iron in it, and she put in Seachem safe to dechlorinate the tap water. Well, a little of that stuff goes a long way, and all of a sudden when she did the water change, it looked like there was orange smoke swirling around her tank. It was bizarre. I mean, she filmed it and showed it to me live. Very crazy. Randy, welcome. Silver Creek Aquatics, also you are welcome. Mark Sturlson, so good to see you. Check the fish box, good to see you. Chia Pet, 2-inch, okay, nice. I'm just reading through y'all's comments now. Yes, plecos do need wood, I agree. Most of them don't eat a whole lot of algae. The best plant, wait, LRB said algae is the best plant for breeding. Would I agree? That's a great question. No, I would not agree. It's a good one. I would say green water, you could say, is the best for breeding, which is a type of singular cell algae. But multicellular algae, while it can be great for hiding and stuff, fine leaf plants and leaf litter work just as well, and they're not algae, so they're more controllable. But there is a lot of stuff that eats that. I would just argue that there are more nutrients, there's more diverse nutrients profile in a plant than in most bacteria, cyanobacterias, or algae. And while there are some extremely nutritional ones like spirulina and things like that, the sheer diversity of elements in a plant, if you just randomly take it, the random molecules, there's going to be gold, zinc, copper, ion, like everything you can imagine basically is in trace amounts if you go to the 0.0000 something percent. And plants are going to just have a more diverse range of that than the algae. And they both provide cover. So I would say, well, yeah, algae works great. The problem is it can get out of hand, for one. For two, it doesn't make as much oxygen as the plants do per gram. But, I mean, saltwater and brackish algae is what created all the oxygen on Earth like 500 million years ago when we went through our great oxygenation period and bugs were like the size of couches. That was only possible because of how high our oxygen levels were in our atmosphere. Let's see here. Sausalito Steve, I like that name. Maybe you're in Sausalito, maybe not. But I hope the Steve part is all right. $9.99. Thank you very much, man. I really do appreciate it. It will go towards the channel. You guys always get to see every so often what I'm working on with the channel. I'm also working on getting, some sponsors that are corporate. in companies I believe in. That's pretty hard when it gets to the corporate level for me. But there are some that I'm like, all right, I dig X, Y, or Z. Like Fluval, for the most part, I like them. Not all their products, but I like them, and I would accept their backing. Chem, yeah, sure, why not? Even though I only use like 2 of their products. Thunder Aquatics, what's up? Good to see you. FIA, limiting reactant. Yes, that's the word I was looking for way back when. Am I way behind again? I believe I am. Let's see here. Brody's Bettas, hello. Jason Knickerbocker, welcome, and thank you so much for becoming a member. Boots and cats and algae flats and algae flats and algae flats. Great to see you. Thank you so much. Again, go check out that community tab. If you become a member, go to our community tab, scroll back through it. There's over 175 extra episodes that are linked there that aren't on the podcast yet or anything. The podcast I'm going to be, and I do have a Patreon that does, they don't take a 40% cut like YouTube does, and then the transaction fee and then taxes 30% by my government. I only get taxed like 27% off that. So Patreon technically is a good way to do it. It's just Patreon, it's a little limiting in how I can give back to you. I like to give you guys a tit for tat, or something back. And other than links that basically once you become a Patreon member, you learn the secret to how to get a hold of my my stuff that's out, that's locked to the public. I try to release everything to the public eventually. I just may not give over the sources and the notes and the HD files and stuff like that. But I really do believe in giving everybody access to educational materials, because I'm getting them sometimes by a friend who's at a university or who's in university, or a viewer who says, I can scan that paper for you and share it with you. And for instance, in the EU, any publicly funded research, they have to share. And so it's all available. Whereas sometimes the same research in the US gets bought up by publishing journal companies like what do you call it, academic journal companies, and it drives me nuts. But then they actually are able to put paywalls up and block you from reading it, even though the people of, say, the UK or the people of France paid for the research and said this is for everyone. They buy rights to it online, and they charge you, say, $40 a journal or an article to read the darn thing. That's when, if it's possible with a VPN to get around it, I will do that and share it, as long as I'm not going to get, pinched for it here. I can just claim that I'm sharing it from Europe. Holy smokes. Jeff Kane just gifted 50 memberships. Is that for real? Holy smokes. Thank you so much, Jeff. That is incredible. Thank you, man. You are a king among men. You are a mensch. Wow. Holy cow. Thank you. That's wild. Thank you so much. RD Red, hello. Super, super generous. Wow. Round of applause. Golf clap. I don't even know what else to do. Thank you. Very cool. Yeah, if you're on mobile, hop onto a desktop if you can, because it'll let people get on there. It'll let people become members, I think, only from desktops or laptops. Molly Colley says you shouldn't be charging people for stuff you get off the web anyways. It's called copyright laws. Yeah, but I'm writing my own standalone theses and articles citing it as a source. I'm just not sharing the sources in full depth because I paid for them, and I don't need to prove to anyone because this channel is public. I want to prove that it's legitimate, but I'm not going to expect that everyone's going to pay $40 to see my citation, to see that that's real. And so there's that. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say is that if there's a way legally to not have to do that, I would rather let all of you access it and look at it and say, oh, this is what I think about the research, or, here's the document, um, without paying the fee that's only required in the US when the rest of the world is allowed to access it for free. That's when I'll say, go through a site that's based in Europe and I'll link that as a PDF or as something else based on a server somewhere else. So quite literally, it's being stored as an electrical charge on a hard drive over there. It's only a publishing company that is saying it costs something. It is ridiculous what American journalists do. I mean, the scholarly journal publishing market is such an incredible awful thing, as far as they charge the people, the PhDs students, or the authors of papers who are professors and doctors. They charge them somewhere between $1,000 and $10,000 to submit it successfully. If you don't even get accepted, they still usually charge you somewhere between $50 and $500, depending on how prestigious the journal is. And then beyond that, they don't even give you a copy of it. So, for instance, for the archaeology paper I published when I was in college, or the anthropology paper I published on Somali piracy, I had to pay and this was for me, for my thesis for my undergrad degree. I had to pay, I believe it was $50 to submit it to an archaeology and anthropology journal that publishes, like, I don't know, 50 articles each edition because it's all digital, and they're owned by some other big company. So I had to pay $50, and that's even if they reject me. If they accept it, then they'll say, all right, we want $500 and you can be in our journal. And then they say, congrats, you're in our journal. And then they'll say, okay, if you want a copy of the journal, that'll be $40. If you want to get a PDF online of the copy, and then that's how you get published, and then everyone looking at it has to pay that, or the university or school you go to may have a big license, and they may pay $100,000 a year, or $50,000 a year, whatever it may be, to have access to all the articles. But especially when it's taxpayers that paid for it, and it's like it's supposed to be public information in the Library of Congress, that's what's infuriating. Is oh, nice, Jeff Kane, gifted memberships is all available on your cell phone. Right on. Awesome, Jeff, and thanks again, man. That's so awesome of you. American journalists aren't journalists, they're activists. Well, it depends on who, what, where, why. Yeah, but I don't watch any of the big channels or outlets, other than really like the AP or Reuters, which still have an agenda. I mean, I'll look at them and assume that X amount of people died in an earthquake. Sure, that's probably true. But how do you control what's omitted? You can't really. I need something to wet my whistle because my throat's getting a little dry. CBH88 fan, hello. Let's see here. Emma the Sea Witch, thank you so much. $4.99 super chat. Very appreciated. Very appreciated. Thank you very much, Emma. Do you have blue hair? Or is it just that picture? It looks lovely if you have blue hair. Even if you don't. Your smile, even pixelated, tiny, 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 looks very happy. Uh-oh, what did Allyn do? Allyn gave some gifts too. I hate this software. Why can't it just tell me? But thank you so much, Allyn. You know what you are. You know who you are. You are such a support to this channel over the years. I'm dreading doing the Aquascape contest because of how big it has gotten every year that we do it. But it's gonna happen, and Allyn's gonna be the one who twists my arm about it. And thank you, Allyn, man. You have been such a good friend and supporter of the channel. All right, guys. I know we just kind of did question and answer night. I do want to mention one more time that I am still supporting Aquatic Arts. It's been 5 or 6 years, but they've really been pivoting, and they're going to invertebrates, plants, foods, shrimp, snails, stuff like that. Honestly, they're not carrying as many fish. They still carry some, but yeah. So I say, they do things the right quality way, but they're trying to only breed in-house or only sell fish that are bred from right around them. And while it's a noble task, a lot of us still want other fish. And that brings me to why I took on another, what's the word? Well, the word, I guess, is Dan's Fish, which is pinned. And I will say that I get a commission if you guys buy something from Dan's Fish. Dan and I talked it out. Bob Steamfot has the same deal going on, and he and I want to support Dan. I've always said, Dan, the Wet Spot, Aquatic Arts, Garden of Eden Fish. There's a handful of places that I really trust. Sage, Lucas Brett's. There's people that I like what they're doing and are always going to have ethically sourced, high quality stuff going on. But I have to say, Dan's Fish really does take it to the next level. I mean, I was just looking because I talked about bettas recently, and I mean, these are what I spawn mostly, which is the Nemo Galaxy Plakat, which, I mean, come on, add a few more adverbs there, or adjectives. I mean, and I have some of the Nemo Galaxy Plakat Koi, if you want to add another thing in there. And that's what I have growing out right now. He also has some Samurai Plakat males, but the thing that's cool about that right now is he's also got Koi Betta females, and the females are just stunningly beautiful. They're tend to be less aggressive, and yet they're like half as much money. Like, it's kind of surprising to me. Like, this male, the yellows are so beautiful to me. Yellow's a hard color pigment wise to get pure on a betta, like not with some other color. But he's got a bunch of different bettas right now that are all really high grade. And some of them are really interesting. These ones are in with cribs, you can see. But I just wanted to kind of mention a couple of the things he's carrying right now that I was like, oh, that's exciting. And it also includes like his South American cichlid selection. It's wild. I mean, he's got these Latiacara that I love, the little smiling. I mean, how could you not love these things? Little smiling cichlid, and I love them. I love them a lot. Oh, it says my battery's running low, which is weird because I'm plugged in. It must be that I'm overheating faster than I'm charging. These are another super fun one, and he's already knocked the price off. You guys can get 10% more off if you use the link. Also, look at these. Wow, that is wild. It's probably because he only has one left, but they were $30. Now they're $8.99. Plus, you get 10% off that, and that's for anybody who is a new user. So what does a new user mean? Well, it just means that you have to set up a new email if you already bought something in the past and you want to start buying under this account, get recognition, because we're going to try to reward people for loyalty too, I think, and probably do some giveaways. I'll pay for them. I always save half of my commission money to buy stuff to give back to y'all in the community because it's fun. It makes me happy to see people happy, and giveaways are always fun. But I mean, he's also got half beaks right now, including the platinums and the normal ones with the red and gold tail, and those are so much fun. They're a live bear from Southeast Asia, from Papua New Guinea and the Aru Islands and stuff. I mean, look at these things. They look like little baby gar, except they're super chill, and they live in the other side of the world. I mean, look at this. He's got 18 different Corridoras in stock, and the prices are a little expensive on some of them. I mean, $6.99, that's no big deal. That's great. But, there's some really rare ones. But I want to support the guy who's bringing in, wow, I might need to buy these. The Corridor Schwartz, I love these. Oh, he's only got two, though. Aspidora spilotus. These were going for $30 earlier. My buddy over at Redfish Bluefish, Jason, he sometimes carries those and some of the others. But I mean, look at this. He's carrying some of the CW numbers, even like the ones that don't have a Latin name yet, guys. And you're gonna pay accordingly for it. But he's got some of the stuff that nobody else has. Like, oh, look at those hyphen Poliatus. That's not the domestic morph either. And then he's got an aquarium strain of stirby. See, those are $12. Whereas, and that's what they were at Aquarium Co-op. They're $13.99 right now. Well, or you could pay $29.99 for the slightly different. And there's gold on their fins. There's different spot patterns going on. But I mean, Corys are a wise thing to breed right now. And Aspidoras too. People don't really know them that well. And when they see how cute they are, they're like, oh, I need to buy those. But I don't know why the prices have gone up to the point they have. They have gotten a bit wild. But also, I mean, tetras. He's got 21 different tetras in right now. And he's got some really rare, like green line lizard tetra. These are wild. They're so cool looking. That picture does not do his pictures don't do the fish justice oftentimes. That's all I'm gonna say is like these, the Hemigrammus rodway, these are an incredible fish. These are the gold tetra. Watch my species spotlight on them, and you'll see how beautiful they are. I mean, these are blood red, like ruby, crazy red colors once they get settled in their home. But, he takes pictures while he's unpacking stuff. And so you don't always get to see it looking its best, which is a shame. Look, $3.99 for the blind cave tetra. Those are really cool. And also 4-spot tetra. That's a splash tetra, if I recall. So yeah, here is a splash tetra for only $8.99. Oh, Aquarium Co-op was selling those for $15.99, I believe, at their store. And here he has these. These are so cool. these actually jump up on a leaf and lay their eggs up there, and they have to continually squirt water by splashing their tail or squirting it in their mouth, and actually put water up there onto the leaves to keep their babies wet for the 3 days until they hatch. It's pretty cool. So he's got some really crazy. He's got all sorts of wild plecos and stuff. Check him out if you're looking for ethically sourced, imported, or rare fish. You're going to pay a little bit more, but it is hands down, I think, the best spot. And I agree with Luke here too. There's no money incentive. I don't get any kickbacks or anything. But redfishbluefish.shop, that's probably the best place for apistos. If you're gonna let me show you, because they have, I just talked to Jason. He is a friend, I must say that. But check this out. Check out their new oh wait, it was in their newsletter. Never mind. But he does have some new look at this crazy new Megoptera apisto. If Mixie is in the chat, man, you are probably drooling. Look at this thing. That is for a wild apisto, Megoptera. So giant fin is the Latin name, basically. Look at the size of the finnage and even the throat, the gill plate extensions there, and the beautiful such subtleties. Even like the color patterning of a striped red and then blue and then yellow or pastel on the body swirling through, the blue around these are incredible. He at redfishbluefish.shop. Well, folks, the laptop crashed. I guess I killed the battery, or the internet or something, because now we're on the wireless. Secret, can you please put mods? Can you or the mods please put links for these websites in the chat? Usually we do have someone doing that, but right now on StreamYard, I can't make people mods. Luke, are you a mod? I hope you are. I need to make a few people mods anyways too. Usually we have a mod in here. I think it's that Bentley's stream is coming on. Maybe somebody else is streaming right now, Rico or someone. But usually I have someone on the ball, helping. And Dan's fish is pinned. Yeah, exactly. Thanks, Luke. And thanks, Allyn. You guys rock. Again, now I'm on my cell phone and the battery on that is super low. But I've had a lot of fun with you guys tonight, and you guys are so generous, Jeff and Allyn and the rest of you guys. The super chats, the gifted memberships, man, there's some lucky ducks out there that are just in the right place at the right time. Wow, look at this. My wife was like, cut your hair. So I took scissors last night and I just cut off the sides of my hair and didn't really think about the implications of what that meant. I don't even know how bad the back looks. But yeah, now I got like a flop top and I'm like, ooh, I should probably cut that more. Hey, Buttface, what's going on? And Freaky Fish Lady, what's going on? So, guys, I'm going to thank you, Discordia Creates, for letting me know. Yeah, you mods rock. You guys all rock. And also, yes, Luke, thank you. There's a chat also for the Sacramento Aquarium Society Findig. It's going to be a big festival, whatever you want to call it. I mean, half talker and speaking event, half auction and trading and debauchery, I'm sure, as all fish get-togethers end up being at a hotel full of fish nerds. Yeah, so it should be fun. It should be really fun. All right, guys. Well, I gotta feed some fish, and also the battery on this phone isn't even gonna last. So I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna hang out with my wifey poo. You guys are
lucky me.
I know. Look at my crazy hair right now.
Oh, cute.
All right, guys. Much love. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you guys on Friday. You guys rock. I'm so glad I didn't get tired today on this stream. I'm feeling better today than I was the last week or two. I was real rough on live stream. So, all right, guys, I'm done. I'm shutting up. Have a good one. Use the discount codes if you want anything. It's all in the description of the videos, and I will see you guys next time on The Secret History Living in Your Aquarium. Also, there's a trivia video that I just put up today, and it's not like the quickest trivia, but it's like 3 minutes per. There's 10 things. Each one has like 10 trivia points, so it's not really a list of 10. It's really like a list of 100 things, but I think some of y'all will like it. So check that video out if you haven't yet. If you got time, it's great to just listen to. You don't even have to watch it at all. I'm just sitting there. So, all right, guys, I'm out. Thank you so much, lurkers, future watchers, past watchers. Sure, why not? And all of y'all that comment, that contribute, that ask great questions. You guys rock. Thank you for supporting the channel and for being awesome, making this a great place to be and an awesome community. Peace.
Bye.